you're the head of program, you have the privilege to bring any content on stage. And, this started with a personal interest, a personal story. And to be honest, I never realized I'm a digital nomad before this year. But I've been, I guess, escaping the Estonian Nordic winter for the past 8 years. And only this year I've when I was spending some time in Madeira, tapped into this digital nomad community. So this is a really fun topic, but don't you worry, we'll get into the serious part as well. It's not only about showing our amazing travel photos, but I can see already our fans in the audience here. So who here thinks of themselves as a digital nomad? There's a few, yes. But then also, who here could identify as something as Lindsey has taught me to identify as is a champagne nomad? Yes, exactly. So, beautiful panel of champagne and digital nomads and slow mads and different nomads on stage. And I would really, really happy to introduce you and show you a few of these travel photos, right? But I will start with the first slide. And I will ask Kaisu to give a little bit of an introduction. Why are you on the panel talking about digital nomadism? And what's your kind of professional and personal relation to this topic?
So I have both a personal and professional relationship to this topic. I've been a digital nomad for, let's say, 15 years. I've been nomadic for even longer than that, but the digital came into the picture about that time. And I guess before that, we weren't really even using the term. We were talking about something else before that. But currently, I'm also a researcher of digital nomadism.
Can you say the university as it is?
Yes, I work for Radboud University in the Netherlands as a postdoc researcher. I'm an anthropologist. So I still spend all of my time in my beloved nomad community doing my field work among my own tribe, basically, which is a dream job for me.
Nice. We also, yes, woohoo! Kaisu, thank you for coming to the panel. And also we have Lindsey here, working hard on all these destinations. So please tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
Yes, well, I actually fell into kind of living globally or living nomadically. I launched Uber in Africa in 2013 and was leading growth for the continent from 2013 to 2020. Really, working all over from like airport lounges and hotel rooms across Europe, Africa, and the US. And it was actually, when I left Uber, COVID hit right away. And it was then that I was like, I'd moved to London, and my 2-bedroom in Notting Hill made very little sense during COVID when I was moving around. And I really realized that without having really known it, I had been living a bit nomadically for the decade prior. And yes, she jokes that I like to call myself a champagne nomad because I still think that the term digital nomad for many people kind of is associated with a very specific, like typically early 20s, backpacker in Bali. And again, we'll get more into it with the company that I founded since leaving Uber. But we're actually seeing so many different types of profiles, personas, and different ages that are opting for a more global lifestyle. So very happy to be on stage with these incredible women.
Thank you, Lindsey. Thank you. There's a lot of clapping involved just to get us a bit energized. And I would like to have Hannah also. Ooh, end of slideshow. What happened? Hannah, where's Hannah? I'm missing Hannah's slide. No. Right. But please, Hannah, give us a little bit of an overview then of what you do and what kind of a nomad are you?
No problem. I've actually been sort of like a nomad since I was about maybe 6 weeks old. I was on my first plane because my parents were also traveling around the world, living in different countries. So some of the photos I had on the slide were me as a little kid, so sad that you didn't get to see them. But now I'm the head of content at eResidency, which is the government program that Estonia provides a digital identity to entrepreneurs from all over the world to start companies and run them here. We see a lot of digital nomads in the community, and so I think I'm quite well placed to talk about some of the benefits that Estonia can provide from a digital perspective, and also staying here. We also happen to have Palasa from the Digital Nomad visa group in Visit Estonia, who's our sister organization here. So I'm representing them too to talk a little bit about the visa and all the things that you can find in Estonia. Yeah, so you can see here. These are all some of the really great things about Estonia I'll talk about, but also some of the maybe not so great things, like winter here, wearing glasses during COVID. So nice to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me. And yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes, so Lindsey already touched upon this a little bit, and I think this is a little bit of a kind of the stereotype of a digital nomad, right? Like someone 23, one hand surfboard, the other hand laptop, kind of working away. But we do, me and now getting a lot of information about this wider community, we do know that it's a totally different kind of, we can also call it a global, very mobile workforce, right? And there's professionals that are just choosing this lifestyle. So maybe Kaisu, you can give us a little bit of an estimate. I know that we don't have exact data, but how many people are we talking about, and where are they?
Yes, you're completely right. We are guesstimating at best when we're talking about how many millions of digital nomads there are in the world. I would say something that I believe is quite close to the truth, probably. We're talking about 30 million, maybe. Or between 20 and 40 million. If someone tells you 1 billion, it absolutely cannot be true, because that would be every 8th person in the world, which is not every 8th person doesn't even want to be nomadic, so that won't be true. But let's say 30 to 40 million of people who are actually digital nomads, meaning they are traveling continuously or more regularly than just taking vacations and stuff. And that's actually a bigger picture. You should maybe think of more of a scale of people who can work remotely in different ways. There's a lot of people who live their sedentary lives and then they escape for the winter, for example. This is a growing trend that we see all over the world, a couple of months a year, and then they do digital nomadism for a couple of months in a way. They would not be even included in this number. Also in the number, we wouldn't include people who have remote jobs and then decide to migrate to, or emigrate to another country. So let's say even with the Estonian digital nomad visa, if someone comes here and lives here for a year on that visa and they have a remote job, we wouldn't, as researchers, call them digital nomads, because in digital nomadism, the half of it basically is the nomadic part where they continuously move. And in everyday terminology, I don't think it makes much of a difference what you talk about, but for us it does, especially in relation to these new visas and government responses, because of course a person who's continuously on the move without having a permanent home is having very different experiences and very different relationship to states than as someone who actually officially lives in that country.
Yeah, I think, Lindsey, you wanted to add to this as well, right? Because IAM is such a diverse community. So what kind of profiles do you see there as digital nomads?
Yeah, and I also realized that I don't think I even said what I do. I got so excited looking at everyone.
Please tell us about IAM as well.
So yeah, after I left Uber, I started a company called IAM, and we've built a platform and members club for extraordinary humans around the world that are living global lifestyles. And so we connect you to your network, to experiences, spaces, resources, and more, all curated to your personal interests. And so we see so many different profiles. Again, 25% of our members have kids, which I think on its own is something that people usually find very surprising. Our average age is like mid to late 30s, but we have members ranging from late 20s through to mid 70s. And again, we'll get to it a bit later, but one thing that's also been super inspiring to see is actually also the diversity in nationalities that we're seeing. So again, breaking through that barrier of it being, Americans, Australians, Europeans, but actually seeing many people from, Kenyans, Nigerians, that have also joined to either kind of live these global lifestyles or on the flip side, welcome these extraordinary humans when they're in their own countries.
Yeah, IAM is really cool, by the way. You can have free access if you're a Latitude Pass owner, so go and check it out. But I wanted to, well, with this amount of people, right, we want to get to kind of the services and the business opportunity. And maybe we'll start with what the public sector is doing. You mentioned a little bit, Hannah, but, you know, we again can be proud of the story that Estonians, if there's something, we are the first, and we have launched the Digital Nomad Visa in 2020. After that's around 50, nearly 60 countries have also launched this. So what is the kind of need of this digital nomads? What do the governments need to do to create this environment for these nomads? And why is it important even?
Yeah. Yeah, so you may hear in my voice, I'm not actually Estonian, I'm Australian, and I've moved here to work for the e-residency program. And I think actually that's a really good example of what Estonia is looking for with the digital nomad visa. They're looking for skilled people, skilled migrants, really talented people to come and make their country bigger, as they say. It's a very compact country with a small population, and they need more skills, more ideas, more international knowledge to help boost the economy. So I think that's a really good reason. And the other reason is that there were already a lot of people coming here and working, maybe on tourist visas, and the government wanted to legalize it in a way. So I think those are sort of the two base reasons for this. And then on the other side of the coin, we at Enterprise Estonia, in the e-residency program, in Visit Estonia, Work Estonia, all of these sister organizations are also really trying to boost when people actually come here, either to live or to start their companies digitally, that they have enough services to take care of them. So in that sense, we want to work with the private sector as well to make sure that those things are here for them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So my own experience in Madeira was tapping into this community. It was done. It's run together with the private and public sector, right? And I was so amazed. I was just, this works amazingly. And then how Estonia works is just me. Probably you are somewhere. If you want to learn about the digital nomad community, Pallas is somewhere. He was just one call away, yes, and helped me to put together this panel as well. So I wanted to do a shout out. But this is how Estonia works. It's just a message or a call away. And the question, kind of a segue to this question, is like, what are the other services that are needed? So YAYEM is something that connects people together, but what else? What is the business opportunity here? What other services should we have?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to jump in. I think it's, when, at least from our members and the data that we have, when people are looking for some place to call home for, be it 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, and they kind of fall under this category of, say, digital nomad, global liver, whatever you want to call them. I think, people look at, 1, obviously you need great Wi-Fi. 2, security and safety. And then 3, like, what are accommodation options that make sense? Because for anyone doing kind of Airbnbs or hotels for that length of time, it gets really crazy. And so I think that once, it's almost like if you look at it as like a Maslow's hierarchy, that's kind of the base level. And then beyond that, what we find is people are looking for one community. And community not just being, of course you can maybe go and find someone to have drinks with, but in this world where this is like a highly skilled workforce that's not in an office, we need to be inspired. And that's a really big thing. And like being able to connect with people, I'm an entrepreneur, I want to be able to connect with other people who are building. And that's one thing that like was one of the catalysts for me actually building YAYEM, realizing that, okay, I had lived this lifestyle, but under the umbrella of Uber. And so I had access to that entire global network. When I left Uber, I really found myself lacking that inspiration. And so I think number 1, community and network. And number 2, looking for kind of learning and growth experiences. So again, in a world that you're not confined to an office, how are you getting that kind of mental stimulation and how are you keeping that competitive edge? And then beyond that, I see people looking for, culture and like what's a place that really can provide them with connect them with great locals. Again, I can speak to at least my members and how I know we see the world. We don't want to go and just be this expat bubble, right? But like looking for environments where actually there's effort on behalf of, say, the local government or locals who live there to really connect. And that's where I believe on like both the individual, company, government, like macro level, we really start to see these trends around global living actually moving society forward in a really powerful way.
I would concur with Lindsey. It's the community of digital nomads is a huge thing also as a market. Co-living spaces, co-working spaces, traveling groups, all sorts of things that are popping up. But there's also a market in between, like the government offering and this community, which is more nomad-led a lot of the time. It comes from within the community a lot of the time. But there's a huge gap between what governments are currently offering to people who don't actually live anywhere and the services they need. So they need healthcare, banking, all sorts of things that are normally tied to your postal code, which they don't have. So again, a good example from Estonia, Wise, is a very good product that a lot of nomads use. But there's a lot of especially insurance agents and mail forwarding services and anything that you can think of that normally you would get, or anything that you would get as state service, but people who don't actually permanently live in the state can't get. So that's a huge market as well, which is still somewhat lacking. But nomads have been around for a long time and they've found their ways to maneuver around it, but it doesn't mean that there couldn't be easier, more straightforward solutions to these too.
Yeah, I'm happy that you're making these Estonian examples, because it's definitely not weather that we can really offer on the list. So just from Hannah, you can maybe mention a few more things. How can we attract these digital nomads? You mentioned already a few, but maybe you can give us a bit of a pitch.
Yeah. I think the Wi-Fi here is pretty good, and the digital services that residents and visitors can take advantage of is something that I think is really important for nomads. The community side, from the e-residency perspective, this is something that we really focus on. It's even one of our core values. So we are really trying to support our community. There's some here in the audience, and they're actually organising a big festival this weekend called Nomad Fest. So if you want to continue the discussion over a few days, I think check that out. Yes. And I think this is something that on the visa side, we are really starting to see that growing now. So we're starting to see more events around this, like Nomad Fest, more people getting into contact with us to ask us for connections into the startup community or into organizations and these kinds of things. So that's something that we're growing now even better. And on the other side, on the opportunity side, it really depends what you're looking for. But if you're a founder, for example, I think a lot of people here, this will resonate. There are a lot of growth opportunities in Estonia. You can just come to these kinds of festivals and get super inspired by what you can do here, what you can build. You can test your ideas. You can meet investors. Estonian companies are very well regarded in Europe from the VC side of things. So if you are a digital nomad founder, I think Tallinn is a great place to be. And then once you've sort of spent some time in Tallinn, I highly recommend getting out into the nature, because Estonian nature is just beautiful and stunning and unbelievable. So there's just a few things that I think Estonia provides.
Exactly. Well, we are starting to run out of time, but I really want to touch upon this the more profound question as well, because we've been talking about this as, we love this, we do this, we show the beautiful pictures, but then there is a bigger why behind this, right? And maybe even wider than just your personal kind of growth and things that you want to experience and people you want to meet. So maybe we can touch upon a little bit and this kind of wider why, and maybe also people here who are, we mention our fans here, but there might be also people that why should people care who are not maybe able to live this or do not want to live this lifestyle? Is there a reason for them to care as well?
Yeah, I'm happy to hop in. We actually met, we were speaking on a panel in Morocco with Palace a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking about my own experience when I moved to Nigeria, and all I had heard about, frankly, coming from America to Nigeria prior were, Boko Haram and Ebola, just to be honest. And I landed there and I remember sitting in this room and realizing oh my God, I'm sitting there meeting, who would become the founders of Flutterwave and Paystack. And I'm these are the smartest kind of fintech brains I've ever come into contact with that are here in Lagos. And that for me was just this realization, frankly, at a young age in my kind of early 20s, that we just do have these brilliant minds around the world. And like, let's face it, I think it's so inspiring to see governments like Estonia that are on the cutting edge, but typical governments are slow. They're not going to innovate at the speed. I mean, visa processes, the amount of passport privilege. And so we discussed this, but if these trends can help to kind of bring these cultures together and bring these brilliant minds, and yes, it might be easier for me with a US passport to go to London, go to New York, go to some of these cities that still kind of have traditionally been these hubs for where the top founders typically come out of. If I can be part of this kind of a movement to disrupt that, and even if it means that we're bringing, again, these kind of global kind of talent force to cities that had previously been overlooked, be it Tallinn, be it, different cities in Asia and Africa, then also these brilliant minds that are inherently based there, but don't necessarily have that same passport privilege, can be part of these movements. And I think that's really, really powerful. And the one thing I will say is that while traditionally kind of public sector has been slow on most things, I do think in this space, it's been really exciting and energizing for me to see actually the willingness of certain kind of governments around the world to actually be pretty advanced with at least how they'll partner with businesses and kind of like nomad groups to help be this driving force. And even if they can't necessarily send their own people kind of outward yet because of visa restrictions and passports, being really welcoming in terms of bridging that gap by actually attracting this kind of global talent force to their home countries. And that for me is what kind of inspires me and the bigger why around this.
Do you want to add, Kaisu?
I will also drum saying that the opportunities we have technology that has now separated work and place. The opportunities for the globe are huge in not just having remote work reach people who didn't previously have a chance to it, but also with the digital nomad visas. Luckily, I'm very happy to see that a lot of governments have taken the stand that any nationality can apply for them. They're not staring at your passport. They're staring at your skills, that you can prove that you have substance, that you can actually support yourself, and that you're bringing something to the country. And this is for the future of more equal mobility rights, this is very important. But also I would say from a personal perspective, why? Because your office doesn't have to suck anymore, or your work doesn't have to suck. Like you can separate them, and you can also, you don't have to wait for your summer holiday, and you can actually explore the world in a much more in-depth way when you have a lot of time and you meet very interesting people along the way, and it's a fantastic lifestyle from a personal perspective, I would say.
I like that. Hanna, do you want to add something?
Sure. I think from the perspective of Estonia, we just want to see more and more people coming here. So we are looking at the eligibility criteria, and I think we are looking at reducing the salary cap. So that's a really good news to try and democratize that a little bit more. We are also very early stages, like in talks to maybe one day, I don't know, maybe in 15 years, having an EU digital nomad visa, because why can't we do that when there's already, the Schengen zone is already very much, legislated. So why couldn't there be an extra, like a layer above the countries that allows people to travel across Europe? Let's see. That's very early days and early conversations. And then from a personal perspective, I mean, I love being in this country. I love talking about Estonia, and as you can probably tell. So if you are interested in hearing more about the digital nomad visa or e-residency, and you're really thinking about spending some time in Estonia, I'm at the Meet Estonia area. So come and talk to me, and we can have a chat about it. So that's.
I really love this idea about the unified visa. It could, if you're looking for a way to identify yourself, then that would really bring the community together. I wanted to ask you about, what do you think is the next big thing in this field? But actually, I think the audience question is way better to finish off with and to outro. So someone has asked how to sell the idea of remote work to your boss if they are skeptical about it. Any good ideas? My idea is do not have a boss. First one. What would you add?
I mean, look at the data. The data shows that people are more productive when you have, at least when you have a choice. So bosses normally like numbers, so show them the numbers.
I did personally sell the idea to my current employer, Universities, like anything in research, can of course be done remotely. To me, of course. To them, universities are physical places that you're meant to be in for no apparent reason to me. My negotiation was to get in touch with a friend who works in this field and set up an actual plan so that they can be happy that they can somehow measure my accountability, which they actually realize they cannot do with the people at the office, apart from seeing them every now and then. So set up a system, be a little bit humble at first to get what you want. It'll be worth it. Yeah.
Perfect. Lindsey, the last words.
The numbers, and I think also just again, like, show them how much money they're spending on offices. Maybe do it that way. They can then reinvest it in all of your Yaya memberships.
Amazing. So yes, if you're interested in the topic, if you want to learn more, there is the Tallinn Nomad Fest happening on the weekend. You can hear many, many topics around this and meet, I think, a lot of digital nomads there. So thank you for listening. Thank you for the panelists. And thank you.